So we're going to record this for the record. My name is Kevin Aslanian. I'm with the Coalition of California Welfare Rights Organizations. We're a support center that does advocacy. We do bills, legislative advocacy, administrative advocacy. We participate in meetings with the Department of Social Services, do all kinds of stuff. We also, if you have issues with the welfare system, any clients, and you need any help, just call me. You can see my phone number. That's my cell number. And you can call me anytime and be glad to help you out. Let's go to the next slide. So we're going to be talking about the CalWorks and the CalFresh program today. And of course, the CalWorks program or the AFDC program emanates from the federal government. There used to be the AFDC program, which basically was the aid for dependent children. And under that program, about 70% of the money went to the families and 30% went to the bureaucracy. And then in 1996, they came up with a TANF program, which is temporary assistance to needy families. And now under the TANF program, the states get block grants and they do whatever they want to do with it. And what they do, 20% goes to the families, 80% goes to the bureaucracy. And this was the Republican-led program. And the reason that, and the Republicans want to give all the money to the bureaucracy and not to the people. The program is run by at the federal level by the Health and Human Services Agency. It's the Office of Family Assistance, sort of that regulates the program, but they don't have much regulatory authority because the states have maximum flexibility of what they want to do with the program. In fact, for the abuses of the TANF program, recently there was in the news that quarterback Favre or whatever for the who did he play for, David?
Green Bay.
Yeah, for Green Bay. So he took a couple $1 million of TANF money and built a tennis court for his daughter's university. So that's the kind of abuses that is happening. The CalFresh program or the food stamp program is now called the STEP program. In California, it's called the CalFresh program. That's run by the United States Department of Agriculture and the Food Nutrition Services. So that's sort of like the federal background of where these programs come from. Next slide is the state bureaucracy. So for the CalWorks and CalFresh program, the governor's office is the ultimate authority. Then you have the California Health and Human Services Agency. The secretary is Mark Galley, and within the agency they have a liaison that meets with DSS as a liaison between the secretary and the director of the State Welfare Department, and her name is Kim Johnson. And this is Kim Johnson, and Kay Jones is the liaison. And any proposal that the Department of Social Service has goes to the department, the California Health and Human Services Agency, and then from there it goes to the governor's office before they're approved. And those are major proposals, budget issues, bills, and stuff like that. And then in the Department of Social Services for CalWorks and CalFresh program, the Chief Deputy Director of Jennifer Troyer. Jennifer used to work for Youth Law Center with Legal Services, and then she worked in the legislature, and then she started working as a Chief Deputy Director for Department of Social Services. the Deputy Director for Program for the Family Engagement and Empowerment Program Division, which includes CalWorks and CalFresh. The Deputy Director now is Alexis Fernandez Garcia, who used to work for the California Food Policy Advocates, and now she's the Deputy Director. So we're very happy to have both of them there. The CalWorks program is Lisa Witchy, who's in charge of the CalWorks program. The Welfare to Work program is Damian Ladd, and CalFresh is Andrea Brayboy. These are the division chiefs that are in charge of those programs. For the if you often these the CalWorks and CalFresh policies made in the legislature process. So I figure you should know what the legislature process is. So whenever you do a bill, we do a lot of bills. If it's an assembly bill, first it goes to the Assembly Human Services Committee. Then it goes to the and then and there's a whole and then it goes to the appropriation, it goes to the floor, it goes all over the place. But so the first committee is the Assembly Human Services Committee. For the budget, there's an Assembly Budget Subcommittee Sub 1 that deals with all the budget issues. On the Senate side, there's the Senate Human Services Committee that also deals with all the bill issues. And the Senate Budget Sub 3 on the Senate side is where you deal with the budget issues. So often, if you have bills that have that there's a cost to it, the governor will veto the bill. So we do a bill, and we also do budget action. And the budget is it's always great to know how the budget works, how much money they have, what they do with the money, and stuff like that. Any budget proposal generally goes to the Department of Finance, so they are players too. So when we do a bill, we always meet with the Department of Finance to see what their position is, because if they take an opposed position, we have problems with the governor's office and even the legislature. And then there's the Office of Legislative Analyst. The Office of Legislative Analyst does analysis of bills every year, budget proposals and stuff like that. I should pause for questions. Are there any questions so far? Feel free to chime in. Okay, let's go to the next slide. If there are no questions. The regulations are embodied in the ES Employment Eligibility Assistance Standards Manual, and you can find that at DSS. I've got the webpage over the link over there. And then there are adult services regulations that deal with IHHS. There's the CalWorks and CalFresh regulations, child welfare service regulations. You also have the confidentiality, fraud, civil rights and state hearings regs, and fiscal management and control. And it's always interesting to know how the fiscal system works, because that decides how the benefits go out. This is just a source of, it takes a thief to catch a thief, so you have to understand how this system works over there. There's also foster care regulations. There's an operation manual that talks about how the county welfare department operates. There are refugee program regulations for Ukrainians and for refugees. The specialized programs also refugees. There are regulations that talk about staff development and training manual. And finally, there are regulations governing the statistical reports. And it's always good to know what the statistical reports are. The statistical reports will be found at the DSS webpage, and you can see reports about CalFresh, how many people applied, how many people were denied, what percentage of those denials were because of procedure requirements. For food stamps, 65% of the applications are denied because the applicant failed to meet the procedure requirement. It's not that they were ineligible, it's just that they failed to meet the procedure requirements. What does that mean? Procedure requirement could mean that the county welfare department calls people with a block number, they don't answer, and they say, okay, we deny your application because you failed to keep the appointment for the interview. Or they want verification that is not needed. And often people upload their verification on Benefits Cal, but the worker never gets it. So they deny the application, then you have to reapply. So it's always good to look at your statistical reports to find out what's happening in your county compared to other counties. They also have reports about CalFresh, CalWorks, welfare to work sanctions, and a whole bunch of other interesting stuff. Let's go to the next slide. The welfare policy sources are the Welfare Institutions Code, then there's the regulations, and they also have all county letters that are basically what they call underground rules, but that's how they govern. So those are the state policy issuances that they send out to the county. So you should always know what the all county letters are and keep abreast of them. There are more welfare policy. Next one is where's the next slide? What happened? Next slide.
Yeah, you're at ACIN.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. So then there's the all county information notices. This is a different kind of policy issuances. Then they have the all county welfare director letters, which basically are not numbered, and that's another thing that you have to look at. And then they have fiscal letters. That fiscal letter shows how much they allocate to the county for various programs, and it's very interesting to see what the county gets. So when they come crying and saying we don't have staff, we need more money, first of all, you look at the fiscal letters, and then you can also look at the county single allocation reports. And the county single allocation reports show how much they got and how much they spend. And I mean, I found out about this county single allocation from somebody who worked for the counties, and they said, Kevin, do you know, have you ever looked at the single allocation reports? And I said, no. So then I started looking at it, and I found out that they get millions of dollars that they don't spend. In the last year's budget, they sent back $283 million to the general fund that they could have used to help people, but they didn't spend it, and they sent it to the general fund. Let's go to the next slide. So this is more policy sources that is on our webpage. We have advocate resources, public assistance tables. That gives the public assistance tables show you how much the CalWorks income levels, the property levels for Medi-Cal, Medi-Cal, CalFresh, SSI. There's a whole bunch of good information in there. You should look at it. We also have welfare advocate forms that you could use to help people. For example, if somebody is on IHHS and they want to get an assessment that is not annual, there's a form that you could complete. Or if you want to get childcare, I have a form that you could complete and send to the county to get childcare. And you could, there's information, there's annual reports, proposed regulations. We also have a bunch of information about county welfare offices, telephone rosters, and stuff like that. So you should look at ccwl.org, and there's a whole bunch of interesting information over there that could be helpful. And if you have any questions, just call me up. If you can't find it, then I'll be glad to help. So when I was talking about the single allocation, this is sort of what you could see. For example, in the single allocation, they got $1.8 million, and they didn't, in 2022-23, they did not spend $212 million. Substance abuse, they got $50 million, and they only spent $20 million, and they didn't spend $30 million. And people out there are having problems getting substance abuse assistance. For jobs, they got $134 million. They didn't spend $43 million. That could have gotten a whole bunch of people a lot of good jobs. The housing support program got $436 million, and they only spent $168 million. They didn't spend $267 million. That's a lot of housing, homeless assistance that people could have received. So this shows what they got, and this is from the single allocation expenditure reports that we get from the Department of Social Services under the Public Records Act request. The next slide shows that by, like, for example, Contra Costa County, they got $26 million. They only spent $15 million. Let me see, yeah. And they turned back. I can see on my, oh yeah, I could think. Okay, yeah. LA County got, didn't spend $86 million. Merced County got $15 million, spent $8, didn't spend $6 million. Sacramento County got $76 million, didn't spend, $78 million, sent back $40 million. San Diego County sent back $21 million. Stanislaus County got 21 million, spent 13, sent back $88 million. So whenever they come to you crying and saying that we need more staff, just tell them, why don't you guys spend the money that you get? Don't come to us and crying. Whenever, after you, I mean, yeah, it's, but that's the response, that you don't even spend the money that you get. So next slide. The county bureaucracy. When I started doing this way back in the previous century, I decided that it takes a thief to catch a thief. So I went down to the welfare department and started talking to different people, trying to figure out how the system works. And what the county, for the county, there's the county board of supervisors. And the county board of supervisors meets every Tuesday, and there's a time to do public comment. So when I came up to Sacramento County and started doing welfare rights, the county would not talk to us. They just shut us out. So one nice morning, Tuesday morning, 9:30, I went down to the board of supervisors and did a little piece of paper having 4 cases, 4 victims of the Sacramento County Welfare Department. Went to the Board of Supervisors, a public comment. They just asked for public comment. You get 5 minutes or 3 minutes to make a public comment. So I read off the cases to the board, and the county welfare director was there. So when I walked out of the county, walked out, she followed me and she says, "What was that about?" And I said, "Well, nobody talks to us." After that, every 3 months we had a meeting with the county. They love to talk to us. The county board of supervisors every year has budget hearings, and you can find out what the county is doing at the budget hearings, what kind of proposals they have. You could do a Public Records Act request to get a copy of the budget proposal and the adopted budget. The county board of supervisors is run by the county exec's office, and the county exec's office is the one who appoints the county welfare director reports to the office of the county, to the county executive. And within the county executive, there's a contact person that deals with the county welfare department. So I found out who that person was at the county exec's office. And whenever I had a problem with the county welfare office, I would go and tell that person, and then they would call up the county welfare department and say, "What's happening?" And often I could get things resolved that way. So you need to know who's the county executive, who in the county executive is the county contact person for the county welfare department. Let's go to the next slide. And then you have the county welfare director, and you have a deputy director for the for programs. You have a deputy director for IHHS. You have a deputy director for administration, for fiscal. You have one for child welfare services. So there's a whole bureaucracy within the welfare system, and you can find that by just doing a PRA and asking for their roster. They also have program specialists like food stamp program specialists, CalWorks program specialists. And you should find out who in your county is the food stamp program specialist, who's the CalWorks program specialist. And whenever I have a problem with the case, I often call up the specialist, and then they call and they fix it. So it's a good thing to know who the program specialist is within your county. And it depends on the counties. Many counties, like in LA County, there's 39 district directors. In Santa Clara County, maybe there's 5 offices. I think Alameda has about 6, 7 counties, offices. And within the divisions within the county welfare department. So again, you could do a PRA and get a county welfare department roster. I've always had a county roster from Santa Clara County when I did it over there, and I do it from Sacramento. I even get LA County rosters because you have to know me, and if you have to know who you're dealing with. And the county rosters tell you who the worker is, who the supervisor is, who the supervisor is, and the chain of command is very helpful. Sometimes when I do an email, I send it to everybody in the chain of command. So it goes to director, deputy director, division chief, supervisor, worker. And all of these people get this email about this particular client. Pretty soon the worker gets bombarded saying, "What's this about? What's this about?" And then they call me up and they say, "Please, if you got a problem, just send it to me. Don't send it to everybody." "Oh, okay." And next time they're much nicer to you. So that's just it just depends. Any questions so far? No. Okay, I guess it's yeah. So then you have eligibility worker, EW supervisor, then you have the welfare to work social worker and welfare to work supervisor. That's sort of like the chain of command within the welfare system. Let's go to the next one. Within the county bureaucracy, they have a county training bureau. So what I do a Public Records Act request asking for copies of their training materials. So that way you could see How are they training people? What are they telling people? What are they telling workers? And if you have an issue with a client, you look at the training how they train the worker. You could tell the worker, "Hey, this is what the training says you should do. You're doing wrong because this is what the training PowerPoint that I got from you guys. This is what it told you should do." And they will say, "Oh, okay," and then they will do the right thing. They also have the special investigations unit, which is the welfare fraud people. And you have some counties have it within the county welfare department. Some counties have it within the DA's office. The SIU basically does investigations, and often they basically and they do welfare fraud investigations, and then they make a report to the eligibility worker saying that this person has a man in the house. So the in most counties they sort of sheepishly do whatever SIU tells them to do, even though the law says that the eligibility worker has to make their independent decision. And you know how many times I called counties and say, this is wrong. And they say, well, you have to talk to SIU because I can't make the decision. And that's totally illegal. The eligibility worker has to make the decision, not the SIU. The SIU could only make recommendations. And then there's the EVES unit. The EVES unit is the one who looks at when people work and don't report their income. Whenever you work, that information goes to the Internal Revenue Service and Franchise Tax Board based on your Social Security number. So the county tape looks at looks at those reports and compares it to what IRS has. And if they're inconsistent, that's called a hit. And once they have a hit, that means that there's unreported income. The county has 90 days to process that. Often the county sits on that for months and months, and sometimes years or 2 years. And that accumulates a whole bunch of overpayments. And one may wonder why, because the county doesn't want to have overpayments. Well, if the county collects an overpayment, they get 12% bounty. So that's why counties often basically cause these overpayments to grow like that. But however, the law says, we changed the law about 2 years ago, saying any overpayment that occurs after 90 days, that is still an overpayment, but you cannot prosecute them for any overpayments after 90 days because they were responsible. They were supposed to process that within 90 days. They didn't, so therefore you cannot punish the victim. Does everybody understand that?
There was a question in the chat.
Uh-huh.
So this is from Yvonne Troya. She says, I called the medical office of San Francisco County HSA, and after waiting on hold for 50 minutes, was told that there is only a temporary worker assigned to the case, and it's not possible to get the worker's last name or phone number. They're allowed to leave a message with the person answering the phone, but that is all. Does this sound right? Is what they ask.
No, that sounds yeah, that's wrong. First of all, that was Yvonne.
Yeah.
You could get off mute, by the way. It's okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yes, hi.
Okay, yeah. So what I would do, first of all, I would basically you should get their rosters. You know what I mean? And then get an AR release form and send an email to the director, deputy director. Just say this is the problem, and just send them an email. I mean, I would never call them up and be on hold for them. I mean, also ask for a hearing. I asked for a hearing, and if the issue is immediate need or expedited service, you could ask for an expedited hearing. But I would basically just send an email all over the place and say this is kind of abusive. Also, the board of supervisors over there. There's a county exec, and you can find out who the welfare person is in your county exec's office. And also copy them. Pretty soon they'll say, please don't do that. Call, okay, I'll call you. That's how you deal with these people. Okay. I mean, sometimes you have to beat up on them before they get you, before they understand. It's the only thing they understand. I mean, that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And if you
Okay.
have any problems, just call me up and I'll basically help you walk. In fact, I've done conference calls with the county. I'll just call the director's office. And if you want, yeah, I could give you the director's office telephone number.
So so do you have the roster sheet on the email on the website?
No, I don't
On the
have that
CCR, you
information.
don't have that one. Okay.
No, but I mean, if you just call me, I will give you. Yeah, I used to have it, but not anymore. Yeah.
Like how do you get the rosters for the
Oh, you just do a
offices?
Public Records Act request.
Okay.
That's for all the rosters for San Francisco County.
But they change all the time?
That's why you do it every month.
Oh.
Every month I send a PRA asking for the updated rosters. And I also ask for their policies and procedures and all this other stuff. And we'll get there, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank
yeah,
you.
okay. Next, and then in the county bureaucracy, of course, there's appeals representative, appeals supervisor, and there's an ACMS system that shows all of your fair hearings. When I started in Santa Clara County, there were only 2 appeals representatives. And after 10 years when I left, there was about 10 of them. That's because I just generated so many hearings. Whenever a person came to me with a problem, the first thing I would do is ask for a hearing. And asking for a hearing is the most efficient way of getting stuff done. Because what I do, the classic case was I went to LA and did a training about homeless assistance. And I passed out requests for fair hearing request forms. About a month later, I got a call from this woman from LA County. Her name is Joan Busconi. And she says, well, Miss Jones requested a hearing and wants homeless assistance, and I don't think she's eligible for homeless. And I said, I think she is. So she calls me back 2 days later and she says, Kevin, you're right. She is eligible for homeless assistance. And we already gave it to her. And I said, thank you. I have no idea who she was, never had the hearing, but she got her homeless assistance. The idea is that once she asks for a hearing, there's somebody else looking at the case. And now, because you asked for a hearing, they want to talk to you. You don't have to call them up. They call you up and they say, how can we fix this? Whereas if you're calling them up, they put you on hold and all this sort of stuff. So I ask for hearings all the time, and you just do a conditional withdrawal or dump them once it's fixed. Let's go to the next one. In the county bureaucracy, you do a PRA and you could get every county, within the county system, they communicate with their workers. So they have county memos, they have county memorandums, they have county procedures, they have county policy handbooks, they have county forms, there are even county statistical reports that they do. And I already talked about the staff training materials. So you could do a PRA and ask for the various stuff. You could also contact your local EW union to see what kind of policy issuances are workers getting. So now that you know what they're getting, then you do a PRA and ask for it. I mean, often I go to meetings and they say, well, we do these reports. Well, what's that? What's the name of that report? And they give it to me. And the next day they get a PRA asking because I want to see all those reports. So it's always, I mean, and you have to understand, it helps to understand what they what they're being told to do, the workers being told to do. Because then you could tell the worker, you have to do this because look at that memo. The memo tells you what to do. Why don't you do it? Let's go to the next one. Often people, we've always been meeting with the counties. Whenever I go, I always, in fact, in Santa Clara County, when we started first, the county would not meet with us, and there was they had a strike, and we were walking the picket line, and we tried to get a meeting with the director, and he would not meet with us. So that evening, about 15 of us went to his house and picketed his house. The next day, he came in, he looked at me and just walked right in. So the second night or evening, we went back there and picketed. The next day, he called up, we had a meeting, and we were meeting with him every 2 months. No problem getting a meeting. So sometimes you have to deal with them. The other way you deal with it is, first of all, you gather up issues and you come up with proposed solutions. The issues are, what types of problems are you seeing in the county with your client? And then you identify the issue, maybe come up with a proposed solution, get some other community people to partner with you, like the food bank, a church, or whatever. And then you reach out to the county welfare director via email or phone call and say we would like to meet with you about these issues. If the director doesn't want to meet with you, you could go to the county board of supervisors and meet with them and ask them if they could help you meet with the county. What's the next one? How to develop issues. Issues that are for, I guess, yeah, I already said that you have, oh, look at the data reports. DSS has a whole bunch of data reports that you can look at, and you can see, like in your county, if there's 100 people who applied for CalFresh and 30 people were eligible for expedited service, and only 10 of them got it within 3 days, then the data shows that they're out of compliance. So you could use that kind of information to meet with them to see why people are not getting expedited service or why the denial rate is so high. So what I do, I look at the number of applications, a number of persons are denied, and then I divide the denials by the applications, and I sort them. And if your county is at the top, is denying more than the average, then you could ask them, why are you denying so many people? Look at these other counties, they don't deny that big, but you're denying it. So that's another issue that you can meet with them. But you have to look at the data reports. And if you have any problems with looking at the data reports, call me up because I've been doing this for a while. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, I guess, yeah, what happens if they refuse to meet with you? Contact your supervisor and meet with their staff about these issues. And then pretty soon, in fact, they may invite the welfare, once you talk to the board of supervisors that is friendly with you, they will contact the welfare office to find out what the answer is. And then pretty soon the county welfare department would be glad to meet with you. And I could work with people who want to do this. If you want to, we could help you with developing issues and stuff like that. Be glad to do that. Next one, I think, yeah, again, I think I already said, you can make a comment at the county board of supervisors. And I also basically, even in my newsletters, I talk about victims, the county welfare department victims. So you could collect and record experiences that clients have with bad counties. You could basically send that out to the board of supervisors. to the county welfare people and to the community victims of the county welfare department of this month. And once they start seeing that, then they freak out and they, yeah. Those are just how you get their attention.
And particularly when you bring a real life examples and publicize it, and either in local press or just in the community, they are very the county welfare departments are very interested because they don't want the public to know how much they mess up. So if you actually publicize it, get authorization from the client to use their information. If once that is publicly out there, you have said this is how the county is doing wrong, they react to that. It actually is effective. It's a very effective tactic to get change.
Yeah, one time in Santa Clara County, at the welfare office, there was a parking place and there was a 1 hour parking. So one day I went to the welfare office to help people who came out. I got a ticket for $2, $2. So the next day I went to the board of supervisors and I said, people have to pay $2 to apply for welfare. And the the San Jose Mercury had this article. County welfare office charges $2 to apply for welfare. Those 1 hour signs came down and 4 hour signs went up. It was hilarious. So those are just stuff that, yeah. Any questions? Does anybody have any questions? And I guess, David, there's questionnaires that they have to sign or stuff like that? Oh,
Oh
Thank
yeah, there'll be there's a survey at the end of
Oh.
once we end the meeting, a little survey pops up. That would be awesome to fill out.
yeah, if you could be so kind to fill out the survey, we appreciate it. Have a happy New Year, Merry Christmas. And thanks for attending. Talk to you soon. And call me up. Don't be shy. It's all right. Bye.